Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee and a Good Vibe. And if you guys are watching the video, we're here at the beautiful Nosotros HQ in Hermosa Beach, California. So I'm sitting down with the founder and CEO, Carlos. So Carlos, thank you so much for being on. I know it's been a long time coming and just so grateful to have this time to connect.
No, Ayesha, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So guys, it's like divine timing because so many things have happened with this brand and it's just been growing, and you guys are so lucky because we're sitting down with the creator of it all and we're just gonna dive deep and hear the entire story, and more importantly, like your story and how you built this empire and this amazing brand.
I don't know if it's an empire yet. We're moving in the right direction for sure.
So Carlos, let's just start off with like you. So you're 27. People are probably like, what? He's 27. It's crazy. But take us like a little bit of I know you probably get this a lot, like the story about you, your upbringing. And for any of you guys who don't know this, Carlos isn't from LA. So my Canadians, you guys understand, like he even went through a whole visa process. So kind of like give us the snapshot of your story.
Totally. So I was born in Costa Rica, born and raised over there. I was there till I was 18. And then I got a scholarship to come to LA. I went to Loyola Marymount University, had an amazing experience over there. And I came to the US to study entrepreneurship, which seems fitting at the time right now. But here in California, I kind of discovered tequila and it kind of became my drink of choice. Costa Rica is more of a rum country. You have a lot more rum influences and all that. But a little bit kind of tying it back to the whole Nosotros story, the real start of Nosotros was actually a school project because the premise was coming up with a business idea that had nothing to do with technology. And at the time, we had to pitch it on Monday. They gave us the assignment on Friday. I went out, bought a tequila drink, saw people buying tequila, and I was like, okay, maybe there's a market over here. So I built a little pitch about building a sustainable tequila brand, and ended up pitching it. And a few weeks went by, and I got to a point where I was like, hey, I'm really, really curious if this could actually be a business. And I ended up just taking a plane down to Mexico and going, spending a month over there learning about tequila, learning about the chemistry behind the process, met with this amazing family. And that's kind of how things started growing. Yeah.
How old were you at the time?
That was 2015. I had just turned 22. It was my senior year.
So when you kind of created the idea and then you went to Mexico and you got more inspired, were you just like, this is it, this is what I want to create, this is what I want to just scale? Was the vision that abundant then, or was it just
not at all, to be completely honest? It was a very gradual process in terms of kind of developing and embracing kind of what Nosotros was becoming at the time. I came back, I met this amazing family, and I came back with a few samples, and we invited some friends over from school and a couple of professors too.
Wow.
And we did some tastings. And after the tasting, I think one of the moments that really got me thinking this could actually be a thing was one of the formulas that we had created. We had 15 people come taste. 13 out of the 15 chose it as number one, and they were like, this is amazing.
Wow.
The other two chose it as their second. So I was like, this is something really special. Is it worth continuing doing this or not? And at that time, I was like, hey, I need to figure out whether or not I'm actually going to do this. And if I'm going to do it, I don't want to do it by myself. So I went over to Michael Arbanas, Mike, who's my co-founder, and I told him, hey, man, I'd love to do this with you. We've been friends for a long time. We were in the same fraternity in school, and it was a really good relationship for a long time. I'm much more of a type B personality type person. I love creative stuff. I love product development. Good with operations and whatnot. He's a very type A. He was studying finance and very into it. And great with Excel and building models. He's a wizard with that type of stuff. So the combination worked really well, and we just started kind of building the brand and going back and forth and just creating the concept. Friend from Costa Rica, Silvana, she helped me design the design of the bottle, kind of putting things together. And then when I was about to graduate, it just came down to figuring out funding and then visa.
That was going to be my next question. But side note on the name.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? Where did it come from?
I
know what it means because I like, but for them, I want to hear from you.
So nosotros means us. The full name of the brand is La Historia de Nosotros, which translates to the story of us.
So beautiful.
The main reason behind that was what do people drink? It's at the end of the day, it's a social experiment. Mm-hmm. You're putting down your guard. You're connecting with people. It's an excuse to basically just relax a little bit and share. So it's really a mechanism to connect with one another, right? That is at the bare bones of spirits. That's what they do. So the idea was that La Historia de Nosotros, the story of us, every bottle's a story. Mm-hmm. That's what we have a little bit, kind of like the blank space on the back
I love
of the bottle,
this.
where you can kind of like write with whoever. That's on our tequilas.
Oh my God, this is so perfect.
And it made a lot of sense to me because, I think that's from the start, that's been our North Star moving forward. It's been like, hey, everything we do, it has to have the purpose of bringing people together. It has to have the purpose of having something bigger than just selling a product, whatever it might be.
You were so deep and wise at that young age to create this whole...
No, it developed with time too. It wasn't all at once, right? It's like it kind of builds on it.
I love the branding too. So you created that back because this is like the first original. Like you didn't rebrand nothing. No. It was just like...
No, we changed a little bit the materials that we used, trying to look for specific things that kind of fit better. But we haven't changed the branding on our tequila.
Wow.
Since the start. Silvana, I went to school with her in Costa Rica too, and she's a fantastic designer and did a great job. And took us a second to get to where we are, but we were really happy with it. It's the combination of kind of bringing modern, but respecting a little bit of the tradition of tequila.
Yeah.
The old school appeal. So
that's one of the things that really captures me about the brand. Like I know like my eyes always go to like good branding, and like whenever I'm at someone's like place and I see a Nosotros bottle, it stands out amongst the rest.
Thank you.
And it's just so nice. But on to the next step. So funding and the visa. With funding, was that like something, because you were at LMU for the entrepreneurship program and just like mentoring students there, I know they're really knowledgeable in that area of getting funding because the school's so amazing.
To be completely honest, I wasn't that involved in the entrepreneurship, like the incubators and all that type of stuff. This kind of was, it started out as a side project, that a passion project that eventually turned into a life project. But I had worked a lot throughout my college times. I did a lot of internships, and I saved a good amount of money, which I basically just put it all into Nosotros for the first part. And then at that point, I went out and got a personal loan from Bank of America, actually the one right there by LMU. They were awesome. They let me like $18,000 at the time, which was the max that my credit card could get. And with that, it was just enough to have our first batch production, which was back in October of 2016. So from that, we kind of just started building, bootstrapping from there, very, very, very tight.
I love this. 2 questions here.
Yeah.
Did you, so question 1, like, were you, like, your mindset, were you just like, this is a lot of money, but there's no other... I feel like entrepreneurs are very like all in. We're like, there's no other option but for this baby, this brand, this business to scale. Like, was that your kind of mindset? Like, obviously it's risky, right? You're taking risks, but entrepreneurs are risk takers. So were you always just like that?
I'm weird in that sense because I guess for the entrepreneur world, it's not that weird, but my risk tolerance is definitely higher than a lot of people in that sense. My train of thought kind of going into this was, hey, we're going to put all these, basically everything I have is going to go into this. And if it fails, at the end of the day, I'm young enough that I don't have anyone who depends on me. I am lucky to say that, if the business didn't work and I had to go back to Costa Rica, because the visa was dependent on the business, right? it's not the end of the world. I'm going back to a place that is politically stable. You know, I'm not going away from like some people are refugees or whatever, and like that's a completely different story. And I was lucky that I could always go back and, you know, crash at my parents' couch or whatever. And like, I had kind of like that safety net underneath which definitely plays a part. But I generally didn't even think of that. I think just going through that train of thought just never really occurred. And I'm just going to do this and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like
it's so more. That's exactly my mindset. Like the more skin I put in the game, I didn't have that negative. Like, oh, what if the other way? But then I did know, like, back in my mind, like I have Canada, not a bad country.
Exactly.
Like, you know, it's like I totally resonate with that, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably do too. And on that, like, did you ever have a mentor, or I think mentors could even just be like books and things that you were reading. Many. So like back in the early stage of your journey, what was like one that stuck out? Many, honestly, that I've had, and this is something that I always love mentioning this every time I can, because it's been true to Nosotros and my life as a whole. I think I hate, and then this is a personal thing, I hate the term self-made entrepreneur because that doesn't exist. Yeah. There is no one in history that has become a self-made entrepreneur. You need someone to believe in you. And that is one thing that I just it shocks me that people kind of identify themselves like that. Oh, there's like Instagram bios like self-made. Yeah, and it's complete total bullshit, because it's like you're sitting there and no, somebody has to believe in you, whether it's the person who gave you the first loan, whether it was the person who interviewed me from a visa, whether it's my first client, the first person that came in. Whether it's our first Mike who believed in the project, whether it's like, you know, some of our first partners that came in, even our employees, like they have to believe in what we're doing and what we're building every day in order for this to work. So it's like that at the end of the day, like every person that comes around you, it shapes what you're doing and how kind of you're creating it. So to answer your question, yes, I've had tons of mentors and people that have surrounded and kind of helped shape the way. Everything from a couple of professors that were super important. I remember there's this one teacher. He said something that always stuck with me in terms of like business operating, which is when the heart's not beating, don't worry about the bleeding. Wow. So basically, he's referring to like you need to just focus on the main core essentials, parts of business first, and then you can worry about. I love that. It's something that would stick and you remember it all the time. Exactly. And then there was another. This is an old one, but I don't quite recall where it came from. I think it was either a book or a podcast or something like that. But it's a saying that says culture trumps strategy every time. And the combination of those two things, I think, have been what shaped Nosotros into what it is. Because, you know, we of course we have a great strategy. We've built a system that works. But at the bottom line, kind of going back to what the ethos of the company has been, is bring people together and do it in a positive light. And that has been the culture of the company from the start. Totally. Even with like hiring, I always say hire on like culture fit. Yeah. Not necessarily like obviously they have basic skills, but like when you're deciding between people, it's 100%. Like that will come to the forefront. And then like everything, like I know with the E2 visa that you have, like we both have the same visa. It's like, for those of you like listening and watching, it's the visa when you want to establish an LLC and you have a business plan, and basically it's like more skin in the game because you're investing, you're actually like putting action towards everything in the plan. And then for you to get that at your age, very young, that's incredible. Like, and that whole process, I'm sure, was just like, it's another like mark in the journey, because I know it keeps, as you evolve as an entrepreneur, it keeps growing. But just like, what was that process like for you after you got that visa? Were you just like, what was your, I guess, like mindset after you got it? Well, after I got it, I was just stoked. I think it was, I think it also made it very real. I was like, hey, okay, this is my next 5 years for whatever I'm doing or whatnot, right? So that definitely drove it down, but it was also a relief, because it's like you're putting all this into a basket and you don't know whether or not the basket's just going to be taken away from you, right? Oh, it's so scary with the E2, because you guys like who know about an E2 visa, you put so much skin in the game to essentially like let someone decide.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's
Like
counter.
you believe in your business.
It's counterintuitive because the visa requires you to do a lot of investments before
Oh my gosh,
you can even apply for it, right? So it's like you got to prove that you're actually having some degree of impact. And you know, I think a good thing is we were very clear about the impact that Nosotros was going to have for the American economy, and in terms of like, you know, how many jobs you're going to provide, what your revenue targets are, and everything, and that part. It's nice to know that, you know, as time has passed, that we've been able to kind of do that and play our part. And more, yeah. And play our part in society. I think that's definitely a cool thing.
Damn. No, totally. I feel like that music. I was like, St. Carlos, I was like, I should do a whole episode on that visa because it's a lot. It's just not easy to put that, like, every element of that visa is insane. And, like, to get it at the age that you did and now to be, like, in it is so incredibly inspiring. So, speaking of, like, Nosotros scaling, anything, like, with the company, I know you guys just had the crazy Tesla Tequila launch. How was that experience for you? Like, that was probably something you've been working on for quite some time. And, guys, like, that's huge. Like, Tesla and Nosotros. Like, that is insane.
No, it was a really cool experience for sure. I mean, they're a fantastic group of people through and through. We had been working on it for a long time, and when they approached us to kind of put this together, we were stoked.
What was your like initial reaction? Were you like, I made it? What was like?
A little bit of that, but a little bit of excitement and just kind of more like interest. I was just generally curious to see what the plan was going to be and how we were going to put this together and how it was going to look like, and that part was awesome. Yeah.
And it sold out like right away. So that was probably such an accomplishment too, in that like after this whole week that's kind of transpired, what's your mindset moving forward? Like, are you just like amped for what's to come?
We're really stoked. I think people are gonna love them. The quality of the añejo that we made. So we have a blanco, a reposado, and a mezcal. So it's the first time that we're releasing an añejo. And they selected us for the quality of our products. That's the real part behind it. And I think people are going to be very, very surprised with what we were able to do with that añejo. It's just so unique in flavor and taste, and a huge part of what we do as a company is provide truly a natural additive-free product. In our world, there's a lot of additives been pushed into certain tequila brands or just liquor as a whole. So being able to kind of convey all that flavor with no additives is very unique. And we're very excited about it. I think this is going to be really cool. And our brand is growing a lot, so I think the next 6 to 9 months are going to be crazy.
I think so too, especially because like Tesla, a brand that could choose any alcohol brand like to create their version, it's like they chose your brand. What's your favorite like tequila that you guys have? Your personal.
Really, yeah.
I know they're all amazing.
It really ranges. To be completely honest, it really ranges. I've been, about a month ago, so we launched the mezcal. So it's this one over here. Kind of going a little bit into what we do that's different than a lot of other brands.
Yeah, I want to hear that whole.
For sure. We do a blend of agaves. So this is with tequila. We do with our tequila blanco, reposado, and now with the añejo too. We do a blend of agaves. What that means is we use 50% that comes from the highlands up in the mountains, and then 50% that comes from the lowlands down in the valley. The agaves from the highlands tend to be a little bit more sweet, a little bit more citrusy, and that's a result of more stress because they receive more sun and less water. And then the agaves in the lowlands become a little more peppery and more earthy because they harvest all that water. And it just kind of has a little bit of that, like those peppery herbal notes. So Nosotros is very balanced because it has a very sweet nose, but a very peppery finish. So kind of combining those two, it makes it really special. And then we just launched a mezcal that we kind of followed the same narrative with kind of blending two different regions, but in this we blended two different agaves.
Yeah.
So the traditional mezcales are made with espadín, which is like kind of like the more known agave, but we did a blend between espadín and tobalá. toala is a wild agave. So it's kind of like truffle hunting. You need to go out there in the mountains and like underneath rocks or whatever to find them.
This is crazy.
Yeah, and it's for a mezcal, it's actually fruity, so it's kind of different.
Wow, you probably are just like, if someone ever got, like, they didn't know who you were, like they didn't know your brand, they gave you some shitty drink, and you're just like, I could not.
Yeah, you definitely learn a thing or two when you're going into these things.
And you probably just like learn more over the years. Do you go on trips still and like go educate yourself now as like being so into the business and
For
having
sure.
your...
I mean, every time we have a new batch, we go. It's just a quality control type of thing.
We were just in Costa Rica, right?
In Mexico. Yeah. In Mexico. So we produce, everything's made in Mexico. And I haven't been to Costa Rica in a little bit, but we were down in Mexico for a production. And it's part of it, you know, it's kind of making sure the quality is there, that all the raw materials are looking good, and then the process is, it's a key component of the business for sure.
Yeah. What's the goal right now for the business? Like the next year, what's the goals that you guys have for the brand?
Well, we're continuing to expand. So we just launched Chicago and Vegas. Those are like two big markets for us that we want to continue growing. I think it's just going to be a heavy push in brand awareness and kind of...
I think you guys are well on your way to do that, like crazy.
Yeah, no, we're excited for it, and I think just continuing to the scale part is the tough part, right? Because it's like how kind of what we were talking a little earlier. It's scaling sustainably and scaling in a way that it doesn't compromise your quality.
Totally, yeah. We were saying it like with just different clothing brands, and like Carlos is an expert in like the alcohol industry. But just like from me, like being a consumer of different clothing brands, I'm like, I felt that with brands that I've loved for so long. You see that quality kind of go down a little bit because that's just what happens with the scaling. So how do you have a plan of action to like make that happen so the quality stays as you guys scale? Yeah,
it's been a big, long time coming plan. The last like year and a half, we've been investing into making sure that we can secure specific, like the quality of the agaves is a huge part. You know, we only use 6 to 8 year old agaves for a tequila. Mezcal is 8 to 13, depending on which one we're doing. So securing those partnerships with the farmers, making sure that they're going to be bringing the right product. We've invested a lot in the actual development process, the distillation, the fermentation section, and everything.
You're thinking ahead. Always.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a mentor in this specific industry? Like, because you seem like you just know what to do before, like...
Well, we're definitely in a much better place now, but we did have a couple of people that were super influential, I guess, in our journey. One of them is David Perkins. David Perkins, he was the founder of High West Whiskey. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I know his name, really. I've heard his name. Super nice person. Literally one of the most genuine and very like down to earth people, and he built an amazing whiskey that sold to Constellation a few years ago, but from Utah. And he shared a lot of like really good information for us at an early stage. And yeah, I think the one thing that I do like about our industry is that it's fairly open. Like people love just trying different things, and it's not that hard to get conversations with people. So we chatted with people from like a bunch of different brands and a little bit bigger than what we are too and whatnot. So. Yeah. So do you guys want to go? I guess it's like the expansion with like strategic collabs like Tesla. Do you want to do more of that, or is it also like expanding country and states?
A little bit of both. To be completely honest, we love doing these type of things when it's like collaborations with brands that, you know, we have our ethos kind of aligned, and there's a lot of like synergy there. We used to, you know, we did this. We've done stuff in the past with Lululemon, for example. We had a run club here down in Manhattan Beach that was really fun. We love doing this type of stuff.
No, that's incredible. With all this, okay, one of the things I wanted to say is like you were super grounded. Like from when you're just very calm. Like if you guys like could see that, like Carlos is just cool. Like you just got like the beach, like you're just calm. And I know like being a founder of a company, like shit gets crazy. So how do you stay so grounded and calm?
I don't know the answer to your question. I think it's a weird set of things. I think I'm very pragmatic in my life.
I'm gonna make sure you're getting mad at like anyone on your team.
It takes a second. It has to be something bad. But no, I'm usually very pragmatic, and at least in my personal life, I love kind of reminding myself that we're in this world that we don't really understand why we're here, what we're doing. Personally, not a religious person myself, but I've always thought it's really funny when you think about how much stress and anxiety a lot of people suffer, and we're literally just talking monkeys in a flying spaceship, right? Like I think that's a Joe Rogan quote or something. And we're literally in a globe just turning around the middle of space, and the big scheme of things, our worlds are. It's really easy to drown in like a glass of water, right? But it's like in the big scheme of things, we live for a little bit and then we pass, and that's it, There's a quote that
I love quotes.
I know.
Anyone who knows me, my phone is full of quotes. I got the new update with the widgets.
Yeah.
I filled all my widgets with quotes. It's like, it's my favorite thing.
I've been scared to update my phone just because it's sometimes when that thing it just dies when you update it.
Oh, right? Oh my gosh.
But there's one that says life is a fatal. What's the life is a terminal disease, a sexually transmitted terminal disease. That's what it was.
So yeah, that's kind of depressing though.
Kind of depressing, but at the same time, it's like you're literally born, and then you already have your days counted, right? So like I think just embracing that has helped a lot in relaxing a little bit and being like, hey, like at the end of the day, like everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna keep on pushing, you're gonna keep on moving, but it's your world. Just make it count, right?
I feel like you like really embody that ethos, which is awesome. And like just going more into it, because I love like hearing people's like routines and rituals. Do you have any like particular things in your day that's like a routine or a ritual that you have to do, like a morning coffee, a phone call to your family, a journaling, anything like that's like something that's a non-negotiable in your life that makes you this way?
No, I'm not which is
no, but that's weird. Inspiring. That's what I love hearing it, because it's whatever works for like one person may not work for another person.
Exactly.
And that's why I love doing these interviews, because it's like someone out there right now, like
I know, it's like hopefully vibing. It's like that
like,
works.
Me either.
It's I always hear like there's a lot of people that are, especially
in the entrepreneurship space. It's very like, in order to be successful, you have to do this. And it's not about, I say this to people too, because I'm a routine person, and that's just the way I am. But I always say, it's like, don't adopt it if like you can't, like it doesn't vibe with you.
Yeah.
Like only do what serves you.
With us too, it's like our schedules are so crazy. Sometimes we have events late at night. Sometimes we have meetings early in the morning. That generally every day is completely different. I think one thing that does help a lot, and I do try to for sure at least get it 4 to 5 times a week, is just a good solid workout.
I was gonna say you swim a lot.
Yeah, and that is like swimming has been like an amazing just like kind of stand, and then you're burning a lot of calories and you're moving, and like it's a great workout. But just something, something that gets you sweating, that gets your heartbeat up there. I think that is definitely necessary. Outside of that I really don't have any routines, and even like the workouts, like it's just whenever I can kind of put them in. It's a result of the schedule, it's a result of life changing, and it's also a result, I think, of my personality. Just because if I have a day that I'm like not feeling like I'm like, for example, if I like some days I'm extremely tired or whatever, I have no problem giving myself the extra 20 minutes of sleep, or unless if I have the time, I will take it, because I think I've made a conscious effort in the past that I personally, again, like you said, it doesn't work for everyone, but personally I can't be engaged in like go mentality at all times 100%. So but I also realized when I'm not I went through this phase where I was like, if I was sitting on my phone or if I was watching a movie, I would feel like some degree of anxiety or almost like regret that I'm like, oh, I'm
like enjoying.
yeah, it's like I almost felt bad for like not being productive.
Totally, yeah.
But then I was like, no, like this is totally fine. I'm actually gonna make the conscious effort of saying like, hey, I'm just gonna disconnect. I'm gonna go watch a movie for.
And you don't realize how much it serves you until later.
100%. And by doing that, I also realized my efficiency when I'm working goes up.
Totally.
Because instead of sitting on the screen
being
for 8
out,
hours,
like, yeah.
I realized I can get all that work done in 4 hours, right? It's like a completely different thing. So I think the downtime is equally as important as the uptime.
And also, like, another thing, like, for me, like, just with creative ideas, when I'm, like, staring at a screen and, like, sometimes I'm trying to, like, create something and I'm not getting the answers or what I want to create or say it's, like, a name for a brand or a program, it's, like, when I'm, like, on a walk or like in nature or like you're with friends and literally just kicking a vibe and then someone says something and then you get an idea.
100%.
That's like sometimes you have to let that flow, and it's so amazing that you honor that and you do it, because for me, I just being someone who like loves routine, I think it's just the way I've like with growing up in like the sports I was in, it was always like that. I've been like learning the benefit of that, and it's been like a practice now and a dance for me to like know, like, okay, actually you need to like actually just chill out because you need this, and it serves so much.
And then you go again to the same principle that kind of we were talking about, you know, it's you really don't know when your time's up, right? So it's like there has to be some degree of balance where you're actively enjoying what you're doing, but you're also moving towards your goals. And that's where I go back to the efficiency thing, right? It's not the amount of time you put into something, but it's the quality of the time that you're putting into something. And I think that goes both for work, workouts, and just relationships, everything. Always quality over quantity and those type of things.
No, that like it's so true, and I know it's like it's crazy to think about, but it's the truth of life, you know? Like, if you're not enjoying every day, like, we work so hard, we're both in our 20s, and it's like, I know we've been through a lot of stress, like, just in our journeys already, and it's like, as long as you are, like, taking this time to enjoy the whole part of it, and giving each day, like, having those pockets, too, where you're, like, in the day, you're actually, like, filling up your own cup, it's so needed, because, like, we all die at the end of the day, and it's so, like, I don't want to sound, like, negative or like, depressing, but you never know, like, when one day is going to be your last day, and it's like it's a scary thought to think about, but it's a thought that I think we do need to like acknowledge, because
embrace it. I think once you accept your mortality, and this is kind of wicked that, you know, we're 20 somethings talking about this, but it also releases a lot of tension. It's like, hey, like, just go with life, and there's no right age to be doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's really no, like, you're not supposed to be somewhere by a certain time. No, just live and keep moving in whatever direction you want, and that's life.
Yeah.
Period. There's like no further thing than that, right?
Totally. No. With like, I feel like you're super inspiring and motivating. Is your circle of influence like? Is it like that? Because I think that that's a really important part of our life too, like with on that note of like enjoying your life each day and like acknowledging that like nothing's guaranteed. Mm-hmm. The people you keep around, I feel like, what's that like are you do you have a really close circle around you here in LA?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, I have I'm very lucky. I have a lot of really, really great people around me, both here in LA and outside of LA. Mm-hmm. I have a fantastic group of friends from high school that we keep in touch. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with WhatsApp, and we have a group with all those guys that just goes off 24/7, and sometimes it's a little much to keep up with it, but it's a really solid support group. But here in LA too, you know, I'm surrounded by amazing people. My girlfriend is a huge support for me, and then the team also, like everyone that works mm-hmm. around. It's really cool just because we become friends, but also business partners. Mm-hmm. In that combination, there's not a lot of people that are able to kind of maintain that, because there's a very fine line that you need to be able to differentiate when you're talking about a friendship and when you're talking about a business, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we'll clash and we'll say like, hey, I don't agree with this, and then whatever it is. And I think being able to separate those things is key. But then the moment you're done with that, you're done. You're back to the friendship and kind of building, together, and that part is very special. And for the most part, they'll have like a super big work hard, play hard mentality, which is awesome, because it's like you put your work really hard when it comes to work. You stay healthy, you work out, and then when you have your downtime, you take it. Like that combination of things is really neat.
No, I love that. I think that's so important. And like on that note of like co-founders and friends, it's like I listen to a lot of podcasts on this, and it's like couples even who do business together, they do full on like deep dives into it, because it's not, people think like, oh, it must be easy to like have your spouse as like your business partner or your friend, but it's not. It's a dance, and it's like, and it's the fact that you have that, it's awesome. Cause like,
with friendships, right? I don't know if Andrea and I will be able to have a business together. That's a little much, but yeah, at least on the friendship side, that definitely works.
Totally. Quick tips. Do you have any quick tips around like someone's out there listening and they have like a business, but they're like, I need a co-founder. What would your quick tips be about like how to find a perfect co-founder, or not a perfect one, but like someone who might be a great idea that they would be a good fit?
Well, trust is a huge thing. I think trusting your gut and how you feel about someone, that is a big part. You want to make sure that whoever you're working with, you could trust with everything in your business, right? Because it's the more, I think that the more open you are about everything, the easier it gets. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing certain aspects of the business with someone, then you're off to a bad start. Complementing skills, I think that's so key. That's a huge thing. I think that is where a little bit of self-awareness goes a long way, when you're able to say like, hey, what am I good at? What can I capitalize on? What can I do? And then what do I need help with? Or like, what are my not flaws, but weaknesses? Right? Like what am I not that good at? And balancing those things out, I think goes definitely a long way.
It's so important. I remember like Mark Brazil from Iconic, like he talks all the time, like he was on the podcast in the beginning, and he talked about how Jeff is like expert in a completely different lane, but that's why it works, because it's like they can, like you both come together, and it's exactly what the business needs to really scale and flourish. Yeah,
it's kind of like what was the term, the hacker and the hustler type of thing.
I love it. You got all the best like quotes in like 2 lines.
There's a lot of stuff that just kind of has stuck with me throughout time, and you got to bring them up, because that's the whole point of quotes, right? It kind of reminds you certain things when they need to come.
Do you do them for your team a lot?
No, maybe I should more often. I just gotta keep them.
I know Brandon does that. Brandon Cohen with Liquid IV, he does that for his team, and one of the things he said is like he'll tell his team like the problem is the portal. And it'll like go around it, but like having these little like one-liners, they're so good. Brandon's definitely a lot better than I am with the problem. It's stuck with me. I'm not even on the team, but I'm like, the problem is the portal. Whenever there's a problem, it's the way out. Okay, I don't want to go too negative on this, but like COVID, I feel like you're in such a great industry where it doesn't matter like what's going on, like people always gonna drink. I think alcohol sales went up during COVID, but I'm not sure.
We had an interesting scenario, because before March, when everything locked down, came down, about 70 to 75% of our revenue came from bars and restaurants.
That's the other thing, like events and that,
Yeah, so we were, some of the big brands, more conglomerate owned and all that type of stuff, they have a super strong presence in retail.
Yeah.
We were focused more on the on-prem, so kind of working with bars and restaurants, creating menus, experiences, all that type of thing, right? So when that happened, it really hit us hard. March was a really tough month, but I'm really proud of the whole team and how quickly we were able to switch into focusing on retail. So we switched everyone to kind of focus on retail. PJ, our head of sales, Did a fantastic job of securing some shelf space immediately, like very, very quickly. And after that, we definitely saw a big push on retail that was fantastic, and we ended up having a really good year.
What stores are you guys in retail?
So here in California, we are in Total Wine & More, Bevmo, Gelson's, Lazy Acres.
Wow, and that's scaled in COVID, right?
Bristol Farms, yeah, we got into Vaughn's, Albertsons Pavilions.
Wow.
So those are like some of the, and a lot of like local liquor stores too, throughout the areas. In Chicago, we're launching with Binny's, so it's just a great partnerships across the board with a lot of suppliers. Mm-hmm.
No, it's so important to, like, as entrepreneurs, like, whenever things happen, it's like pivot, adapt, and like, what do you have any quote one-liner there? But like when an entrepreneur is facing something like the coronavirus, like, I don't know, like your approach to it, I couldn't picture you stressed, so like I feel like your approach probably was like, shit, what's going on in the world? Like, what was your? Do you remember
there
how
was.
you felt
I think this year there's definitely a little bit of stress there, especially when I think the uncertainty is the worst part, right? You don't know how long it's going to go for. You don't know what the repercussions are going to be.
Everyone was like summer, and now we're like past summer, and it's like.
And I think I've come to the conclusion this isn't going away in the next 2 to 3 years. I think just accepting that, and this is kind of. I hate the term the new normal because it's just like it is a new normal, but it kind of leads to the idea that there's going to be it's going to pass or whatever. You think of the flu, and then we still have vaccines for the flu, and then people still get it all the time. So at some point, you need to find a way where you can go back to life without jeopardizing anyone's health, right? Kind of finding that balance and how we're going to live, and that's the importance of the mask and everything, and when you're in public spaces. And I think there's it's here to stay, and we need to learn to live with it.
Yeah, you're very optimistic.
Yeah.
I like that though. That's how I am. I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna make the most of any situation I'm in, because that's all we can do.
Yeah.
And like nothing's guaranteed, right? We were saying earlier, it's like nothing's guaranteed, so I'm not gonna like live in a rut and like wish for tomorrow when we had honor right now, right? So no, it's been so incredible just like hearing everything, and I just want to like first off thank you and honor you for your time. I know it's a Saturday, guys. We do this in the morning, and Carlos's meetings, like it's like truly like you just show up and you put in the work, and if you guys do that, like look what you can achieve. You can, with hard work obviously, but it can happen. And on that note, I always like to kind of close off the episodes with kind of someone listening who has been wanting to make the move or like go all in on their business, kind of just like your best piece of advice you would leave someone with in any state of their journey, but just kind of like to either go all in, keep going, or just like some sort of like words of encouragement that you would leave someone with listening.
For sure. There's always a lot, and obviously every circumstance is completely different, but I think the biggest one that has been a key component of our journey is never burn a bridge.
I love that.
You don't know how life is going to turn around or what you're going to be able to do in that sense. And at the end of the day, the one thing that separates us as humans to pretty much every other living species on Earth is the fact that we're able to communicate, tell stories, and connect. That ability to connect and relate to one another is literally why we became the apex predator of the world, right? Like that is such an important thing to our success as a society. And the moment we lose that, we're done. And I think that applies to business in so many ways. Like you gotta value those relationships, build on them, and actually like be grateful for the time that people give you, right? Like at the end of the day, that being able to spend time with someone, whether or not you're in business mode, goes a long way, because it's really what separates us from everyone else. So I think my one and biggest thing would be foster relationships, build relationships, and be thankful for what those relationships bring, whether or not they're on a business level or not. especially with the people you're working to, because everyone's input is quite valuable.
That's like I think it's my favorite piece of advice that anyone's given on this show. And like, I think it's because like no one ever speaks about that. Like relationships are so powerful, and especially like both of us moving out here, leaving our families, it's like we had to build relationships from the ground up. And then I really put so much value towards that because I like had to build them from nothing and like do it later in my life, like not like coming from like school or anything. So I think that I'm so happy you said that, because
and it's scary. It's scary at first when you're kind of connecting with people, especially in a completely different country, completely different world. You know,
and you hear stories, LA people are this. It's like
I know.
You hear all that.
But at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to build significant relationships, and I think that is the one force that keeps the world moving, and that's connecting with people.
And it's kind of like the ethos of your brand. It like fosters that. Like you created a product that fosters that.
100%.
And it all makes sense. It all aligns.
Now we went full circle over there. Yeah.
No, I love it. Carlos, so where can the people find you personally, the brand? Your personal brand is just a booming. So tell us where they can connect with you.
For sure. Well, Nosotros, you can find it we went over the stores, NosotosTequila.com, if you want to learn more a little bit about our process and everything we've got offering and whatnot. And then I'm not the best at keeping up with my personal social.
You do a good job. You always post things.
But yeah, if
the balance, you showcase the balance.
Yeah, but I think if anyone wants to reach out, I think I'm public on Instagram too. Feel free to reach out over there.
And everything will be linked in the show notes below too for you guys, so you guys can check it out. But on that note, thank you so much, and I'm just so pumped for everything to come. So guys, follow his Instagram, follow Nosotros, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Try it out.